Let's try this for the third time. Um, Not sure what's going on. Had it scheduled for a live across the PC. It's not working, so instead I have jumped over to my cell phone. Try to get this thing rolling. Just updating again so I can actually see what is going on right now. And plus, I will be able to see comments and other things as well. So it looks like I am here. We've got open to public. Does not look like I'm going to be able to mess with too many other activities right now. Okay, there we are. We'll go over here and do it this way. Okay, so I can see the chat. So anybody that has questions, go ahead and jump in. I'm sure there's quite a few people still trying to figure out where I'm at because I just made it back up. Okay, so Arkenberg Farms dot questions at Yahoo. Okay, so arkenbergfarms.questions@yahoo.com is where to send questions. If you missed today and you'd like them in the next time we actually go live, which will be the next third Thursday, which I would check and see where that is, but it's actually on my phone. There we go. So it actually pops up on this screen, which is cool because then I've got this screen as well. So we're just going to start to jump around. Let's see if I can. I'm playing with my computer, which is like actually right here right now, to try to get this thing, well, let's just call it more functionable. And we will jump over the channel. And then we're going to move over to the side again. Very finicky here. What else do we got? I'm trying to find questions because I've got other questions floating around, but I'm missing all my settings where I typically find them at. Okay. Well, it'd be a lot cooler if it would have worked where this thing here was on my computer screen here and I had my phone to look across other stuff here. If that makes any sense to you. Yeah, I can't even find anything. Where's my studio even at on here? Aha. There's YouTube Studio. We'll get moving over there. Now we're cooking. So they move stuff all over the place. Okay, so I do have some questions that were brought in previous to this actually going live, because I know a lot of people have a hard time making it. And this week actually is a very strange month because the 1st was on a Thursday, so the 7th was on, no, the 8th was on the next Thursday, and the third Thursday is the 15th, which is really, really early in the month. but that also keeps away from the holidays, which is great. So it kind of helps that way. I do want to just kind of briefly talk about what's going on the farm. Right now, we are down to 1 tunnel worth of production. I pretty much got everything else out of the field. So there's a little bit out there. If you watched the video I just put out today, that was a couple days ago. Got out there with a tiller real quick and just kind of tried to wipe that one plot down. Worked okay. It's getting dark out, so I was kind of running into the issue of fighting what I had and had to do it. It was just dry enough, and then we got like an inch of rain. Was that yesterday? So I was able to do that beforehand. I wish I could have went in there with my new disc. Well, new to me disc that I just bought, because it has the scallop discs. So they're the round disc, but they got little scallops out of them. So they actually like more cut when they turn. I think that would have worked really good for the crop residue. That's actually what I originally bought that disc for, was to take care of crop residue like that. I know in the past with the tiller, it binds up, especially if it's already dead and it's wet. If it's dry, it works great. Or if it's fresh crop, it works great, because it just kind of puts it down into the ground and just kind of really works it and chops it up. And then the soil life just pretty much just takes care of it real quick. So we'll go through and start looking for some questions here. Had a lot of good comments today about the why we till video. I mean, we till because we have to. I mean, that's all there is to it. If there was a way of doing it without it that was also profitable, we would do it other ways. I know there's tarping and other things we can do, but it's so windy out here, we can't keep the tarps down. Hopefully in the next couple of years, after I get more tree lines up, we might be a little bit more successful with that. But at the present time, we're just kind of limited to what we can do. Somebody asking, yeah, have we ordered seed yet? I know I put a video out a couple times ago. Is it too early to order seed? I am currently working on my seed order. I got my Salanova leaf lettuce ordered because there's already stuff that's out of stock for, as far as I can tell, no reason. Why would the 5,000 piece be out, but the 1,000 pieces there, and then like the 10,000, like really large ones, they're gone until August of 23. So something tells me there is not going to be much of that seed around this year, or they're going to pack it light and low, try to get more money out of it. Either way, I'm not sure. That's one of the things. I mean, I've got a lot of it left. Germination was getting real spotty on it, so I had to order some fresh stuff. I think I'm still working with seed from 2 years ago, because I know I didn't order any last year, and I ordered it at the beginning of the season the year before. See, I'm probably looking at 2-year-old pelleted seed, which I really didn't take all that good of care of. I mean, it was in the office for a while. It was in the germination chamber. I know I left it in the propagation house a couple times, but now I'm actually keeping all my seed in the freezer in here, which it's just over there. That's why I'm pointing that way. That's where I got the deep freeze at. Kind of trying to work around here and kind of reinvent my space here. Got my background, which is just temporary from you, movie magic here, but I'm getting ready to swing the whole building around and kind of change some things, which hopefully should be more ideal for me. I originally positioned my desk to where right here is a garage door, and when it's open, I can see outside. So when I'm working here, I am viewing straight out the door into the field. I can see everything going on. I want a wall behind me, and I also want a wall to do stuff with, because if we just come over this way, there's all my junk. So I've got a bunch of packing supplies up top here, and then microwave and stuff here, and then cleaning supplies, and then power tool stuff here. I want to take that wall back there where all the other stuff is hanging and put the stuff I have behind me for a background. Well, I can also go through and like hang some of the pictures we have, some of the PR stuff, the different things where we've had publications where we've been mentioned in. Also, just other cool stuff that we have. Here's a good one. How many onions are in a set? So that's the bunching onions. Typically what we aim for is about 7 to 10 in a bunch. Um, I wasn't too good about it last year. Last year I used the vacuum seeder and let a whole bunch suck up there and just kind of flipped them and went with it and just let them do whatever they want. This next year I'm going to, I don't got anything on the desk here. I'm actually going to get a scoop because I'm only going to probably plant out one bed of those because I planted two and it was okay, but I mean, it took me the whole season to sell them. They're not super popular. I think we sell maybe 10 a week. Just do one planting of them, plant them, and just harvest them until that bed's gone. And when that bed's gone, they're gone. Because right now, currently, I have about a half a bed still that I now have to do something with because they're growing landscape fabric and they're growing through the landscape fabric and they're rotting and falling down. So now I have to get them off and out and get the fabric back up so I can replant next year. I'm definitely going to do one bed. That's for sure. I can find somewhere to throw that bed and keep it out of the way. I might even move it up towards the house. I think I'm going to put the peppers up there this year. Still kind of playing with that too. That'd probably be a perfect place because I've got 4 beds there. No, 5 beds. I don't irrigate much, which the bunching onions actually do great without irrigation. I'll put the peppers in there because they don't irrigate much. Probably build out a drip rig real quick, run some drip lines out, and put everything in landscape fabric like that thing's been set up for. I've had it 2 seasons now with nothing but landscape fabric. Last year was all kale, or not last year, the year before was all kale. Last year I put, this last season, what did I put in there? I had broccolis in there and some cabbages and stuff, and they did okay, but they were too densely planted, I think. They just are too late. The cabbages really never formed. Those are the Bilco Chinese cabbages. I'm actually moving away from them at this point. I'm finding for, at least for our market, nobody wants a cabbage that's, that big around and weighs like 4 pounds. They want little small ones. I've actually found one. I'm going to try this here. They're called tiaras. I just ordered the seed for it. They're organic seed, and they say densely planted. So I'm not sure how densely planted I'm going to actually plant them. I'm thinking I could do it on a 3-row with 12-inch spacing within the row, but I'm not 100% certain. I've got a question coming up here across the live feed. Thickness of landscape fabric, we use a 3.2 ounce DeWitt. 4 foot wide. I believe that comes in 300-foot rolls. We do order that exclusively through All Seasons Covered through eBay. They're actually a somewhat local supplier. I say that tentatively because I can't remember exactly where they are. We're in northeast Kansas, right outside the capital city, Topeka. They're located somewhere in central Missouri, so they're, I don't know, 200 or 300 miles away. They're not super close, but not super far either. I can order stuff and I get it in like 2 days. They send everything FedEx, so they're great. I've been getting stuff from them for years. They also have the white on black. The problem with the white on black, the 4-foot rolls, they're actually taking 8-foot rolls and they are splitting them. So they are just going and burning them down. So one side's got that nice factory edge on it, and then the other side has like a cut, kind of almost frayed edge on it. So it's not the best. I've had some fraying on it. It is cut with a hot knife or something. The landscape fabric, honestly, I've been using some stuff for 6 years. No problems really. The batches vary through the years, so some hold up a little better than others. Yeah, I mean, that's about all the more I can say. I know I have some stuff that the yellow ribbons that go down them have deteriorated and disappeared, but the black stuff's all still there. So I don't know, if it ever really truly goes bad. The biggest wear and tear they actually take is when we grow beets in them and onions in them, because they'll actually get underneath it. So they're down here, and when you've got a beet that big around that comes out of a 2-inch hole, it don't come out of a 2-inch hole. So we do all of our beets in groupings of 3. So you'll have a beet about that big, you'll have a beet about that big, and one maybe about that big. So you need to get this big one out. These other 2 will size up in a week or 2, or this one will size up in 2 weeks, and this one will size up in 2 weeks. So we can just continuously harvest out of the area. but you have to get it out of there because we want those beets that are, baseball size to get them out and get them sold. So we've had to cut it here and there. Like I said, again, not ideal. If it wasn't so windy, that's one of the biggest downfalls with us out here at the landscape fabric is it starts to buffer, so it'll actually bounce up and down. So if it's flat on the field and it's bouncing, your start is right here, and it'll actually go up above, and then the start's underneath, and it goes down on it. Then you have to go through and go inside of each of those and kind of pick it back up and hold it out. Putting staples down the middle really helps. 6-inch landscape staples is what we primarily use on the fabric. That works best. Getting them out of the ground, something I've always got to get on people working out here all the time about, is you can't just grab the fabric and just pull it up, because the staples will pull through and then it tears holes in the fabric, which are more likely to fray. Anytime, going the opposite way again, anytime you cut landscape fabric or you put holes in it, you have to burn it. Even at the ends, you lay down 2x4 and burn off the end, otherwise they fray. But when you pull it up, it tears through. So then it leaves all those ragged edges and they start to fray kind of internally there, which breaks them down. That's where landscape pin puller that I've made, get a really long handle screwdriver, just bend the tip over. They work great. And then you can stand up and then pull them up. Kind of hard to balance it and catch the pin every time, but you don't have to bend over to pull it. You can actually physically stand up and pull them that way. It works really, really good. Okay, let's see what other questions we have backed up here. Last time I did have questions about our seed potatoes. Those come from White Rock. White Rock Specialties. They're in, looks like Mosca Valley. We actually order those through somebody else in the C&G group, the Certified Natural Growers. I do encourage anybody out there that is growing organic and does not want to pay the stupid, ridiculously asininely high fee to be certified organic to go through Certified Naturally Grown. You will not be able to label your product as organic lettuce or organic peppers. But typically you're not doing that anyways at the farmer's market. Direct to consumer, the OCIA, the other organic agency I was going through, got a little bit testy about me saying that we were an organic farm because we use organic practices, and that certified naturally grown organic is what we said, because we weren't certified organic, we were certified naturally grown organic produce. But I can call anything organic something afterwards, because then it indicates that it's USDA organic, and we were not USDA organic. They were kind of mad at me, made me actually take it off the website, or they would not continue my review at the time. But long story short, we are not going to be certified organic next year. I ended the process when we found out we had used Dr. Earth something fertilizer that said organic all over it. That wasn't. And really, where I'm going to scale the farm next year, I don't think it's worth it. I mean, $1,000 for certification, and that's pretty cheap because we have actually some inspectors actually locally, like within the county. So it really, helped that way. But I mean, I'm not going to be wholesaling. I'm scaling back to, like, I don't know if I'm going to bring on any really full-time employees this year. I'm going to have my son actually out here now. He's 12. So I found out I can pay him per piece and get him to actually go and do stuff. Hourly wise, it's just not worth it yet at his age. I've got another buddy whose daughter's going to come out and help. She's 16, so she should be good help. I probably will be paying her hourly. Then my mom is just retired, so I've got her kind of helping me out in the pack shed. I might have to do a little bit more of trying to get somebody up here temporary for the pack shed. Anybody locally, especially in the Topeka, Shawnee County area, is looking for, 5 to 8 hours a week, you'd be perfect out here for working in the building. It's not air conditioned, but it's in the shade, and pretty nice setup in here. So it's a nice fun job, keeps you busy, keeps you going. You just work till you're done, and then you're done for the day. So we're not really all that worried about it. Okay, so here's another question I get. I actually get this one quite a bit. um, Use my turbo heater, the diesel heater, in the greenhouse, and people are constantly worried about carbon monoxide buildup. That is not the issue. Anything new, because it's a Craftsman dual fuel, it'll run off of kerosene, it'll run off of diesel, and I want to say it'll run off something else. Jet fuel, maybe? I don't know. I have no clue. But, anyways, I just run it off of diesel. But anything new that actually works and runs is going to run efficiently, and it's not going to produce carbon monoxide. I actually have it heating the building I'm in right now. I keep it down at 40 in here to keep the water lines from freezing. But then when we come here and work, I kick it up to 60, 70. But it runs in here all the time. I've got a carbon monoxide detector plugged in the wall over there just because I, kind of questioned it, and I had an extra plug-in one. So I went ahead and did that. I've actually heated this building 2 seasons now this way. And usually if I just keep it down at 40 and the building's really dormant and there's not much going on in here, $20 worth of diesel, which is about 5 gallons right now, 4 gallons, will last me a week, no problem. So I've never really had any major issues with that in here. It's a great way to keep it warm, and it's a cheap way to keep it warm. The biggest time it uses the most and when it's really windy out here. Now here's another one about using rippers on your tractor. I've got the Wonder Bar attachment. I've just got the 2 individual rippers I use to actually bring the soil up. And the video I actually shot on that, they didn't actually sink down like they were supposed to because I didn't have any weight on the back. Again, I was doing it more for content and context of what I was trying to do. At the beginning of the season, I do weight that, and I go through in the spring and I rip all the beds. I did that last year and had really good luck with it. It even shattered the walk paths on both sides of the bed just pulling those 2 rippers down. I really need to go out in the big area and do that because there's still some really big areas of compaction out there. The question is, if I had a bigger tractor come out and do it, would it be worth it? And 100% yes. If I've actually noticed this here in our region, there is somebody out here that has a ripper, or there was a grant to buy rippers for your large conventional agriculture tractors, because I'm starting to see fields ripped more and more frequently. They're pulling like a 4 or 5 row ripper, so I think there's like 24 inches in between them. But I've seen that more and more. They're not, the traditional farmers aren't as much of tilling as hard anymore. They're turning into no-till because they're all using Monsanto turn and burn, glyphosate ready crops. So all their GMOs out there, their beans, we're basically just soybeans, corn anymore. They call it no-till because they don't have to till, because they're not trying to take care of the weeds, because of the herbicide they put down pretty much kills all the weeds. So they don't have to worry about it. They'll, go through and do their soybeans, spread it all around, and plant their corn right into the rubble the next year. They have done a little bit more where they're starting to run their discs out there over the cornfields. But I think a lot of that, they're running the rivers now because they're not out there enough actually doing that, and they developed compaction through the years. That's what I'm dealing with out there in the field. I've got like 2 lines of compaction every 20 some foot, and that is where the harvesters always drove through with the combines. Any kind of traditional ag land's going to have that happen. The farmers nowadays have been taught, we'll go in disc this way, and then we'll go and disc diagonally, and then we'll go diagonally back the other way. And they try to mix it up a little bit so they're not compacting too hard, but what they don't consider is their combines run over the same exact path every single time, because it's programmed in there. They push a button and that damn tractor does all their work for them. But anyways, I was kind of getting off on a tangent there. Okay. So I'm looking for a couple more questions here. I did have a couple submitted to the email address. I put it in, I think I put it in the comment box. Arkenberg Farms, all one word, dot questions with an S, if I remember right. Yeah, with an S. You can submit questions there for the third Thursdays. It's a great way to get them across. If you can't make it and you just want to check it out later. I guess I already answered one. Have you ordered seed yet? And I've just started that, like I said. I know I had some more. Just did a garden planning seminar with Mother of News Fair here last weekend. That was a 6 or 7 hour class of everything from location to choosing everything else, and then finally at the end actually planning a garden using market garden techniques. I'm really kind of pushing towards this. I think it's going to be a project hopefully this winter and spring. Kind of want to put together a book on this topic, and more or less I'm trying to think of how me as a market gardener would actually plant like a garden. Like if I started out with a 20 by 20 area, blank slate, set up my market garden beds so I'd have 5 beds 20 foot long, what would be the most logical way to start to break things up and be able to easily organize and plan it? I think it'd be a really, really good topic of trying to standardize things. I might try to put something together as well. I do know that they will edit it out into some kind of video at some point in time. That's the other thing. If you're going to be in Belton, Texas area, February, Lawrence, Kansas area in April, July will be Erie, Pennsylvania, and then September is Great Bend, Wisconsin. Yes, those are where the Mother Earth News Fairs will be this year. I will be at all 4 of them, and I will be presenting probably anywhere from 2 to 4 different topics of those. I'm also setting up consulting times during those. Sit down and talk for an hour. I'll have to start setting those up when I find out what the schedule is. I really do want to, I probably need to open that up on the website, an actual section to pre-schedule it, and then I can go through and set up the times once it comes time, because I'll be there a full 2 days. So anytime in between, if you're at the fair, it'd be perfect. We can really sit down and really dive into whatever topic you're wanting. Let's see here. I just had another question come in and it disappeared. There we are. Okay, south facing slope on a 1/4 acre. Trying to think we should place, we'll come back here. We'll go back over to here. Move over here. Okay, so where are we? Okay, so trying to think where I should place high tunnel. I think the top would be best. Is a sun. Worried about summer heat. With the high tunnel, don't worry about the summer heat. You're going to have the whole thing opened up, end walls off, the whole 9 yards to keep it cool enough in there. That's the least of your concerns. The most important thing, if you're only on a 1/4 acre and you're going to put in a high tunnel, don't put in a really tall one or you're going to shade everything. South facing slope, ideally you're going to want that thing, I don't know your exact setup, but as far to the north as possible, or you're going to be shading a good section of the beds behind it. I mean, the big one we have, I have it on 6-foot sidewalls. I can tell you right now, that thing is stupidly, tremendously overkill, and I would never build anything like that ever again. I don't even know what to do with it all. I mean, it's huge, it's great, it's cool, it's got rolled sides, super awesome. But what I would do is build a smaller one if I was going to go back. I would get one on like 4-foot poles on the walls. That might even be stretching it, but that'd probably be fine. I would do one that was like 24 foot across. Let's see, mine is 30. see, now it's 20, or is it 24 by 48? Now I've got 7 beds in there, so it's 30. 7 and 4 is 32. So yeah, I'm missing the little walkways on the outside. So yeah, that's 30. I would definitely go with a 24 because they're not as tall, not as big. The only good thing about them is if you get the truss system to where you have the truss going across the bottom with the W in there, you can use those to trellis all of your stuff. You can use your cords across those. Great for trellising. The Farmer's Friend tunnels, you can do it, and you just got to drop down chain and then run your wire through. I know I did a video earlier this season on that because I set all those up. But the only problem with the Farmer's Friend tunnels is I have not figured out a good way to put an automated sidewall that actually rolls up on one of those types of tunnels. So during the shoulder seasons, when it heats up, it cools down a lot, I'm constantly having to open doors and monitor them. That big greenhouse is automatic sidewall curtain. It goes up and down. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to deal with it. When it gets hot, it goes up, and when it gets too cold, it goes back down. So that thing's almost I don't even have to think about when I've got production in there and it's early and it's more towards the shoulder seasons. Yeah, I mean, quarter acre, so you're gonna be pretty tight no matter what. The only other consideration with the greenhouse is where everything else is at, because that's going to be one of your primary parts of your real estate that you're going to be in quite frequently and moving around a lot, because you can also do all your starts in there by using racks on the sidewalls. It'll also be warm. You can store tools in there on the end walls. There's a lot of things you can do with a high tunnel. So ideally you want it close. You don't want it to be, clear across the field that you have to go out to. You also have to consider water and power. Two great things to have in them. Water especially, spigot inside of it, but power is really nice for the automated sidewall more than anything. I'm sure you could, just run some low voltage 24 volt wire over there to actually just control the sidewall itself and not have to worry about pushing the whole 120 over there like you would. But yeah, those are the major considerations to really, really think about. Is top of the hill would be best because you got a south-facing slope, so it's going to warm up quick. Don't shade beds behind it, and then make sure it's close to where you need to have it. Because if you're not close to where you need to have it, you're going to waste a lot of time walking back and forth to it. I mean, we kind of have that issue here where things are just kind of spread out. So one thing I was always really big with employees and constantly getting on them was when you go out to the field, take everything you think you could need. Imagine that you're going to the other side of the acreage out there, which is 500-600 feet, quarter mile away, and you're going to want to walk back and forth 3 or 4 times. You might not mind it, but I'm having to pay you to walk back and forth 3 or 4 times, and I start to mind it, and it starts to really kind of perturb me after a while. I'll just put it that way. So I was always really big at pushing that. And some people, oh well, I can just run back and forth. That's fine. It still wastes time in the long run, and makes your farm less profitable than it should be. I did have one employee come back after working on a bigger farm, and after working on that bigger farm, I noticed when she came and started working, she actually sat there and thought, before she went out, I watched her. She said, okay, I'm going to need this, I'm going to need this, and I'm going to need this. So I'm going to put all this in a box, and I'm going to take it with me. And when I saw that, I was actually very surprised, very proud, and very happy. I mean, I know the other farm taught her that because it was so much bigger that it sucked when you're out in the middle of nowhere and you didn't have what you need, but it really, really helped here on the farm. So I saw something pop up again. Again, I'm moving back and forth to fight the fact that I've got my computer screen and my phone on top of it that we're actually live on. Do you terrace or slope? Or build your rows right on top? It all depends on how sloped it is. That's your biggest thing. You got to kind of terrace it to keep everything flat, especially where the high tunnel is. You don't want it to be, if it's facing, down the hill like this, your high tunnel, you don't want it to be like this. You can go downhill, well, like this, like mine are. I'm on like a 2 or 3 degree slope, so everything's just kind of going downhill. I just made the greenhouse, instead of following the slope like that, I just kicked the sidewalls up straight. But it goes downhill. You can see it, but it's no big deal. I'm running flat in this direction, not flat in this direction, if that makes any sense. You definitely don't want to make it too crooked, too sloped. That is the other possibility too, is that you could run it down the slope if the slope's not too big. At least where we're at, there's debate on north and south. Further north up, you get people put their greenhouses facing long ways north-south. Where we're at and further down south, everything is oriented in walls east-west, so the sun comes across the face of it the whole time. The other way, the sun's going over the top of it, so you shade out crops in the morning or the afternoon. Or if you're this way, you're pretty much, the sun comes up back here and goes around, so it kind of gives even light. And you do get some shading behind it when you trellis things way up, but nothing major. I'm aware of what does that. You can fill the whole entire thing out with tomatoes and be just fine. But I would not plant a bed of lettuce behind a bed of trellis tomatoes. That just would not work. That wouldn't work at all. You completely lose everything behind it. I've even tried interplanting basil and things back there on that back row before. The stuff on the front row does great. The stuff on the back row does not. It gets too shaded out. Yeah, that's other things I'm really kind of trying to consider my whole production plan this year. I'm really leaning towards trying to do some value-added stuff. Here in Kansas, they're stupid and the regulations suck. I can't make anything without a producer's license of some kind. I'm not sure if I can push my building to be a processing facility, because I really just need a cold kitchen. I kind of want to do pesto. I've been playing around with fire cider, which I've got my first little test bottle set up right here. The test batch is actually brewing right now. I gotta see if there's even a market for this stuff. Supposedly it's getting really big around the country. We're really slow on things getting really big. Usually we have a year or two lag of what goes on the coast by the time it gets to the center of the country. We're always the last to, I don't know if necessarily know, but to catch on to the trends. So it's, is what it is. But I'd like to do that. I'd like to do pesto. I'd like to do salad dressings, maybe prepared salads. Seems like a great opportunity for us. And I know the things like the pesto will sell. I know that salad dressing most likely will sell. I know we could sell prepackaged salads, but I can't do any of that unless I have some kind of cold kitchen. Oh, also pickles, even though we're not the greatest picklers in the world, but then there's also pickled beets. I know people love those, especially around here. And our beets are awesome and everybody loves them to death. So that's something about the soil. Also pickled jalapenos. People love those around here too. But that's really going to dictate what my production plan is going to be next year, of if I have that or not. Because I am not planting a single plant of basil unless I'm making pesto and selling pesto. I don't like harvesting basil because it's got to be done right before the market. Even storing in a 50-degree fridge, it doesn't last all that long. Yeah, it's just, I'm not a big fan of it. And it's really hard to sell because when you package it in a bag and people can't see it, they don't really know, it just doesn't pop out on your table because you can't leave it out because it just wilts and just falls apart. And that's where everybody buys it. 98% of them are using it to make pesto. So if I was able just to harvest it and just go straight make pesto with it, great, because I can take that whole bed out, make pesto, and then I can freeze the rest in a freezer and then sell it as I need it. So that is a really good consideration I'm kind of working on this year. Pickles, great for all the cucumbers that are the number twos. Great way to push them through. If we do that, I'll grow more pickling cucumbers than just regular cucumbers. As for doing salsa, great spot for my slicer tomatoes, because I can't honestly grow slicer tomatoes that are worth a crap. They all get shoulder burn and severely cracked and just look like crap. And I'm fighting everybody else with their brother growing tomatoes around here. So I'm not going to grow tomatoes, slicer tomatoes. I'm going to grow a couple for myself. I think I'm going to do 5 or 6 plants but that's it. Unless I am purely doing, unless I'm purely doing it for salsa and then trying to sell off the other ones. It just doesn't work for me. What would you do? Water bath the pesto? No, I wouldn't water bath pesto because I just freeze it. I just get some kind of like the hummus containers, the little flat plastic round, like little 2 and 4 ounce containers. Uh, Freeze it, and the other option, what I believe you do before you freeze it is you just drizzle a little bit of oil on top, so that gives us this protective layer, and then you freeze it. I wouldn't try to preserve it or anything because I don't know if you can water bath pesto even. It pretty much basil's finicky. It likes to turn colors when you try to do anything with it. But I do know it freezes just fine. I know several people that do it, and also several people that just grow basil specifically for that purpose. So that's where I'm kind of leaning with that. But yeah, I mean, really, I've got a question in with our Department of Agriculture, who does our food restaurant and all the food safety junk, and I've yet to hear it back. Yeah, saying you just freeze it. Yeah, that's what I've heard from everybody is you just freeze it. Um, One of the farmers that I've been in contact with actually is doing like 100 extra things of pesto a week that they froze back all season. They're selling about 200 a week, so they can have pesto all the way through the season. So that's how crazy they're going for this in his market. I don't think I can go that crazy with it in our market, but I mean, if I could make a batch of it and sell, you know, say 10 a week over a 20-week season, that's 200 right there. That makes it worth doing a big batch of it and just packing it all out. It'd be like a 1 or 2 day thing. So we're got a question here. How many acres is your farm? We actually, the whole entire property, you can Google overview it, Arkenberg Farms. It'll pop it up. The whole entirety of the property is 12.25 acres. That includes the section out to the street and where the house is at. The back field itself, which is the main field block, is roughly 8 acres if you exclude the tree lines and where the house sits. So potentially I could have 8 full acres of production out here. The way I basically have broken it off is I've got my main market garden areas up here towards the house with all the greenhouses and everything, and a tree line up by the house to keep the wind off the house. And that is around taking up, I've always kind of estimated at 1/2 to 3/4 of an acre in just, area. That's including where the pack house is too, that I'm currently sitting in. Out from there, I have roughly 450-foot long beds that I've been playing around with, 90-foot wide. So that gives me roughly an acre block. I have the potential for 4 of those acre blocks, and then uphill from me, where I kind of got the orchard that's completely felled and fallen apart, potential for another 2. So of that 8 acres of land, I can get 6 acre field blocks with grass strips 24-foot wide around them to, move around, do what you have you around there. And then my 3/4 acre up here. So I do lose some of the area to the grass strips, but I really find those are good for moving around. Their mowing kind of sucks, especially when I do the U-pick and things. It gives a nice path for people to walk out, and then I do everything sideways. When I do full production, I run the full length down the beds. I can actually draw on the screen. When I do the U-pick, like this screen is an acre block, they're going this way. They're 90-foot long beds. When I go out and do more production, like I do for a wholesaler or something, I do 450-foot long beds. And those all get worked with a small tractor. So once I get on them, I can just stay on them with my implement and just run. It's a lot easier than going across, stop, pick up your implement, drop back down, readjust, go across, do that and repeat 4 times, or just one strip all the way down the bed. That is the best way I have found to work with those. Again, a lot of that's going to come down to what I'm going to be able to do value-added products with, and labor. and labor and labor and labor. My two primary workers for the past couple years, Adam and Maria. Um, Adam is basically doing he's a roadie now. He's doing electrical setups for the festivals, races, all kinds of stuff all around the country. So he's pretty much set. Leaves me without a good worker, but it is what it is. I can never pay him as much as he's getting paid right now. And then Maria and her husband sold all their stuff, got in a camper, and decided to go move around the country and live. So that's where that's at. She's actually was working up on a farm up in Oregon there for a while, and came back in here, worked here for a little bit. So they've kind of left and kind of come back just a little bit here and there. So when I not necessarily when I need the extra manpower, I have it, but the things that can wait, like I can't, crop out enough beds because I don't have enough people here. I can have them do that when they get back, and can kick them a little bit of money here and there while they, are back visiting and just, looking for stuff to do while they're here. So it's kind of where I'm at with that. I saw another one come up. Do you overhead irrigate? I do all kinds of irrigation. I do every irrigation under the sun and have over the past years. I've got impact sprinklers on some of my original market garden beds via the Curtis Stone method, where you put them on the corners, so little rainbird impactors. I've also got MegaNet overhead sprinklers that go on the 4-foot stake that use a really modular system. I know I've done videos on those in the past as well. They cover 8 beds, I want to say. Yeah, there's 4 on each side, so they cover 8 beds each. They're really nice. The good thing is they've got a stream of water that kind of goes up and down as they spin, so it gives a really, really uniform irrigation. Then the other type of overhead irrigation I have are the little Netafim vibro nets, I think they're called, whirly birds, the ones that hang down. I just recently did a video on those because I just put them in my Farmer's Friend tunnels, and I'm going to put them in my other high tunnel, and they are freaking awesome. They water beautifully even, follow the charts they have for the product on your spacing, which I spaced them at 5 foot, which is a little bit further they recommend, but for width-wise, because the height that they're above the ground dictates how far out they go for each of the different heads on them. You can't change all the heads if you screw up, but it's best not to, because you just want to get the right product to start with. But this height here that gives you the right spray here dictates how far they hang down from up here, which tells you their length of drops. You can buy 2-foot drops, you can buy 3 foot, 4 foot. I think they were 6 foot. I also put them in the prop house, and the prop house, when I walk in there, they're like right here. But I only wanted to go 10 foot on the bed, so it's only going like this. Where I have the same head in the Farmer's Friend tunnel, and they go 17 foot. It's just the water has more of a chance to go out. Great, even watering. I love them to death. I also use drip irrigation too. So I have the most complicated system to teach somebody, but I'm the one that usually dictates where it goes. So all my greenhouses are multifunctional. I can either pull out the drip tape with different headers, which are all modular, I can put together and take apart, or run the overhead in them. Before I used little XL wobbler minis in the greenhouses. They work, they suck, they blow majority of their stuff on the sidewalls. One thing to always be aware of is if you're not using the impacts and you're just using other kinds, you have to make sure to have a pressure reducer on them, or you get such a fine mist that, at least for me, it just blows away and evaporates, and it's not worth the amount of water you're wasting. I mean, we're on municipal water. It's fairly expensive. I don't like to water if I don't have to, and I don't like wasting water. Now, for like the U-Pick area and the big acre-long field blocks, those are all on a single drip line. Found it pointless to run double drip lines. Just run one. Primarily, I'm doing those with the plastic mulch layer too. So that's kind of where I'm running at this point. I'm getting a little better with it. The biggest problem I still have is that path, the little bit of field that's in between each plastic mulch on both sides of you, filling up with grass. So if anybody has a really, really good way to keep that grass from coming in there or killing it without, going out there and shaking out hay bales across a full quarter mile for each row in between by hand, that would be great. I'd love to hear it. Comment about it in this or another video. That's my biggest issue out here is the grass. I don't have huge weed pressure. I do, like in the last video I did, the why I till. The henbit that comes in the winter is a little bit of the pain in the neck in winter production for direct seeded crops. Not really concerned about in the walk paths. The rest of the year, really don't have weeds to really speak of that are any kind of a pain in the butt at all. It's the annual grass that's in here that when it takes off and goes, it takes off and goes, and it will grow everywhere. I can leave a little place that wide in between landscape fabric. I mean, we're talking maybe a 1/4 inch, and it'll grow into a mass that is, I can't even get it big enough, filling up the whole entire walk path and into the bed. So we're talking 3-foot wide grass that is up to your knees. And it's not Johnson grass, it's not Bermuda grass, it's just a stupid annual grass, and it just is horrible. Okay, so what is my most valuable crop? There is some debate on that. I would say 100% the most profitable thing we do, labor and, not even bed space wise, but just labor wise, and the amount of return you can get on it, would have to be cherry tomatoes. Now, there's a caveat with that. There's some times of the season I cannot sell all the cherry tomatoes we harvest. So then it starts to become less profitable. But per linear foot of bed, the cherry tomatoes are the most profitable. The second most profitable is the leaf lettuce, but that again is something you can very, very, very easily overproduce, overharvest, overwash, overpack, and that makes it less profitable very, very, very quickly. I'd say right behind that would be the ones that we can actually store. So anything we plant out, we do harvest and we do sell. So our kohlrabis and our beets are the main ones there. I would say cabbages, but the problem with the cabbages is that I don't get full heading in them still. It's the wild temperature swings we have here. They just don't like to cooperate. Like this year, I planted them out early. Yeah, that was in the bed up front. Planted them out before I had to travel to Colorado for a week. It snowed here. A lot of them got zapped, and this was planted in like March. I got maybe 20 or 30 cabbages out of that whole 20 by 40. A lot of them bolted, went to seed. Other ones just never formed. It's just a pain in the butt. That's one of my biggest problems I'm running into right now is with the spring cabbages. That's where I'm going to try the little mini ones, the little tiaras, and hope that those actually do something. If anybody's grown those, let me know in the comments on the spacing you've used, because that's something I'm really, really interested. I'm going to post that out in a couple other places too, because I really, really want to know. Am I mixing in any cut flowers? I sure tried to. Let's just say that. Watched the whole growing farmers thing last year, cut flowers. Cool. You have to be aware. It's a whole nother thing to do. Number one, the hardest part about cut flowers is getting them to germinate. Getting them to germinate and getting them to germinate. It's like 80% of them are surface germinated that require sunlight, and they take like 2 to 3 weeks to germinate something. Some things are even like 4 weeks. So it's really not in my future. I am going to plant my rosinias like I do every year. So I just do a double row, 18 inches on center. Use the Binneray Giants, the big giant ones. They're great. I actually saved some seed this year. I'm going to try to do it from seed. We'll see if that works or not, or I just won't have them if it doesn't. I did find another one, and I can't remember what it was, but it is it's not a direct seed, but it's a transplantable. But just like the zinnias, you put it below the dirt, you throw it in the germination chamber. When they start to pop out, you bring them out. So I can get consistent germination and then just transplant them on that same spacing. But other than that, I mean, I tried to do it. I got some other stuff to grow. But again, At our market, we have a couple established flower growers, so I'm really competing against them, which makes it really hard. And again, it's just another thing. It's that thing, like when I planted the orchard, that just kind of got left behind. And it was cool in the U-pick, and I did have quite a few vases come out this year. I used these as my U-pick vases. This is how I measured them. I charged, it's very reasonable. I think I only charged $5. And I mean, this is basically a full, stock of flowers. I told them, here's a container, here's some clippers, put as many flowers as you want in here. And that was the whole business model. I almost went through a whole entire box of these over the whole season, which is July, August, and September. So, not bad. Could have been better. The biggest problem here is when the flowers really come into bloom is in that July, August, and it is just stupidly hot here. I only open up the U-picks on Saturdays because nobody comes out Sunday when I've ever opened it up. And I only do it during the morning because after noon, people stop showing up too. I've not tried an evening one, but you know what? By Saturday evening, I'm kind of done with people and I just want to not have it open. So that's kind of where I've gone with that. Not sure if I'm even going to do the U-pick this year. Honestly, it's becoming more and more to where it's the time of day, and we sit so far back off the street you can't just see us. We're not on the curb to where you drive by and you go, oh, look at those beautiful fields, I can go walk around. You can't see my fields from the street. I have to have signs. That's the only way you know. And if I did plant something up by the street where I do have some areas to do stuff, I think people would really assume that that would be the U-pick and not what's actually going on back here. Because I've traditionally planted 14 or 15 90-foot beds of different stuff. And the other thing is it's hard because it has to be pickable. And that's where I've really struggled with U-pick vegetable stuff is it has to be picked. It has to grow continuously and pretty sturdy, grows in hot weather, little irrigation. So we're looking at tomatoes. We're looking at peppers. That's really about it. I've put kale out there. Nobody picks kale. When they do, they just cut the whole damn plant off, which they shouldn't do to begin with. What was the other ones I've had out there? The summer squash did okay, but I have to really kind of rotate that a lot because it doesn't last long here before it gets killed off. Really don't want to try doing the pumpkins or watermelons or anything like that in the U-pick because it more takes over out into areas. So I don't know. I'm kind of thinking about I'll use my main two market beds up front and have a greenhouse full of tomatoes and a greenhouse full of cucumbers, and then basically say that's the U-pick. You can go out there and pick it, just don't destroy it. I'll have the market stand opened up here on the weekends anyways, which I'm going to try to, I don't know if I'm going to bring it up here on the farm or just do one out front. So I just don't know. I've been debating back and forth so much because of the labor things. I don't want to overdo it. I want to scale things to the scale where me, my family, and maybe another part-time high school kid or something can help out. And if I lose one of them, I'm not out here taking over the slack. I'm not out here working 80 hours a week because I also do construction inspections as well. So that eats up a good amount of my week as well. So I can't do everything myself basically and be at the scale that we're currently at. So I've got to bring something back. Something has to give a little bit. So that's where I'm really trying to work on the whole scalability thing. But hey, if anybody's looking to work and they live in the area, start off at, I hate to just say the numbers out here because everybody's going to hate me for it, but we start out at $9 an hour because if you don't make it the first 2 weeks, I'm not going to pay you more just to train you to waste my time and then have you just disappear on me. I went through 6 employees this year that never made it past this first basically month. After that, about the average wage out here is 12. I mean, we're in Kansas. We're really low, not low income, but the cost of living here is drastically cheaper than anywhere else in the country. I mean, just dramatically cheaper than everything else. I know things are getting more expensive, and I'd like to be able to pay more than that. But at the current time, that's kind of where we're floating. I mean, I pay myself for the time that I actually work. I pay myself $10 an hour. I pay my wife $12 an hour. I pay my son by per piece, which is based off a $10 an hour rate. So that's kind of where the numbers come from. Without making my produce stupidly expensive, I've got to keep something down somewhere. And it's not, I don't want anybody out here working that is relying on this to be their sole source of income either. This would be something that I really want to find people that want to be out here, anywhere from 8 hours to, 20 hours a week. I'm not trying to have this be, a burden on them. They want to come out and do their job, do their work. That's great. I'm really flexible. I let people come in when they need to, leave when they need to. I'm not, oh, you're not here by 8, you're fired. No, you can come in at 9, you can come in at 10. I just need you to complete what you need to complete that day, and then you can go on your way. The pack building's even more variable because, plain and simple, that stuff's in the walk-in and it ain't going nowhere. Our biggest and most timely thing you have to harvest is our lettuce, because we harvest all of our lettuce in the morning. Pretty much everything else doesn't matter. I will tell you, it ain't fun being in the greenhouse in July at 2 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So the people that are out in the field doing the harvesting, I don't necessarily push them to those times, but I try to focus them to not be in there during that hottest time of the day. Try to push them here or push them there, either way. And I've had, some employees that'll come out 5 days a week, but only work, 3 hours at a time span. But it's just them doing their things. So, no, we got a first-year farmer here. What I can tell you is have fun. Don't plan on making a lot of money for yourself this first year, because you're going to have to put a lot back in just for equipment alone. And it all depends on how big you scale. Try to keep it small. Try to make it to where you're probably going to be selling at the farmer's market, that you sell out every week at the farmer's market. That is your ideal thing. Try to find what people aren't growing in your area too, but people buy. So there's a lot to it. I could literally go on for hours about it. I really don't have time because I'm starting to get hungry and it's supper time here. So I really can't go into that too much. If you have any specific questions, just like anybody else that's watching this stream, go over to our well, not go over to, but post your questions over, let's see, make sure I got the email address right. I believe it is Arkenberg Farms with an S .questions with an S at yahoo.com. And we'll take care of those the next third Thursday, which we'll just pull out a calendar real quick. January calendar. Oh, I've got to look at a picture. You can't just give me a calendar, Google. Seriously? No, I want the picture. Damn you, Google. So, 1, 2, 3. So it looks like we're January 20th will be the next third Thursday. And that's not on there. It's actually on my phone, which I can't get to. Well, I wonder what happens if I do. I probably don't want to do this. Okay, so I think you lost me there. I'm pretty sure you did lose me there because I jumped out. Yes, Arkenberg Farms .questions with an S. And that'll be a great place, and I can help answer the questions next season. Also do you can set up consulting time with me as well. ArkenbergFarms.com. Scroll down to the bottom, digital tools and training. There's some freebies. There's a bunch of spreadsheets down there to work with. Also, I've got consulting times that you can set up and work with me. We can go over something for an hour at a time. Try to pre-plan things, get an idea of what you're looking for. I'll even try to submit some questions back to you so I have something and kind of know where we're going and where we're heading. So I've got the one final question. How do you plan your day to get things done? There's always so much to do. How do you not get overwhelmed? 100% you will get overwhelmed. There's nothing more I can say about that. I pretty much plan my day in the fashion of I try to do things certain times of the week. So typically Monday's an off day. Tuesday, we've kind of switched things around a little bit, but if we were just doing the farmer's market on Saturday, Tuesday would be my plant day. So I'd be planting everything on Tuesday. Bed prep and planting would be Tuesday. Wednesday, I would be doing the beginning of my harvesting. I try to get my leaf lettuce and things out of the ground on Tuesday so I can cool and sit in the walk-in. That gives me Thursday to start packing produce, seeing what I have, seeing what I need to get. And then that gives me Friday to patch up everything that got left behind. If I miss something or it rained, that gives me a little bit of a wiggle room. And then ideally, by 5 o'clock on Friday, because the farmer's market starts early on Saturday, everything's done. I know weather, everything else kind of changes. But the biggest thing is just to try to, you have to standardize your day. You have to treat it like you're going to work at somebody else's job, even though it's your job. You have to wake up, you have to start at, 8 o'clock every morning. You can't go, oh, I'm going to go start at, I'm going to, get out there here in a little bit or a little bit later. You have to get out there, set time, and work. Next thing, stop for lunch. Always, always, always stop for lunch. It's a great way to break up your day. Also a great time to take a nap if you're tired because you had to get up early, do a bunch of other stuff before you actually got out there in the field. And then work until 5 o'clock. Try not to keep going past that because you'll burn yourself out. If you're still working, a daytime job on top of it or doing other work, even part-time around it, you'll have to kind of move your schedule around. Ideally, you just don't want to be out there 12 hours a day every day. If you're out there 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, you have to get somebody else out there. I mean, great job. You're pushing the produce. Hopefully you're not, doing things that are taking up too much time and you're just doing production, selling. But if you're working that much, get more help. That's the number one tip. I'll just leave it with that. If you have too much to do, hire people to help you do it. Otherwise, you'll be out here like me and working 80 hours a week plus another 40, no, not 40, another 20 here and there. And next thing you know, you're working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, which equal a lot of hours, and it's no fun. It's about 100 hours. So that will be what I'll leave you with. Thank you all for showing up. Again, questions to Arkenberg Farms with an S, questions with an S at yahoo.com. I'll answer those next Thursday, which will be January 20th. Look out for me at the Mother's News Fairs. They are starting to book tickets right now. As I understand, they've sold more tickets for all the different ones this year than they did in 2019. So these are going to be big years. I'll be doing 3 or 4 presentations at each of them. Booking consult times. I'll be setting up consult times while I'm there. You charge a fee for that, but I will make it definitely worthwhile. I will exchange stuff beforehand so we know where we're going and get you the best quality stuff that you can do, and it'll be well worth your time. I've hired consultants in the past for myself, and these little 1-hour things is the whole, you don't know what you don't know until somebody tells you that and you're like, oh crap, I've been doing this stupid for such a long time. Trust me, I've been there. I am just doing it per hour, and I would say that my rate's one of the best rates in the country. I got everything from planning to experience in the fields, to selling, to marketing, to website, to basically all aspects of it. And I really have a good idea on the soil science for my area. I can work on it for your area if that's what you're wanting to talk about. So, as always, hope you all thought this useful. And if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you'll get more notifications of this and other videos coming out. I put a video out every week. So, thank y'all. Have a good day.